Hey everybody, welcome to the New Legend podcast, where we explore and celebrate vintage vehicles, vintage 4x4s, adventure, family, culture, and being a man in the 21st century, something that Luke struggles with.
Oh,
I'm Sean, and I'm here with Luke.
That's me.
So, this guy's here for us. Luke, talk us through one of your more interesting vehicle buying experiences. You've got some sweet rigs.
More interesting. Okay.
Sweet whips.
Yeah. Probably my sweetest buying experience was the wagon, which was my first vehicle. Note in a previous episode.
Yeah.
But that was a buddy's rig in high school, and it was his grandparents.
Sweet.
So super cherry everywhere. But I was cruising around with him one time, and he would do I don't know if his parents know this, but he would do neutral drops in that thing and just rev it up. And at the time, I didn't really care, but I was just like, dude, if you ever sell this thing, let me know. And so then a year or two later, I got a call from his dad and said, hey, if you want the wagon, $200 and it's yours.
Nice.
Which was sweet. So
that is sweet. I'm trying to think of mine. I think for me, it was probably one of my more recent ones, the Ford Probe. And I think I told this story before, but I'll tell it again. Basically, found this Ford Probe GT Turbo, white, 5-speed, sweet car, lower miles, under 110,000 miles.
One of the best cars ever made in the 80s is what I've heard.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Shared the Mazda platform engine, 3 valves per cylinder, 7 pounds of boost.
Okay.
Juiced them pups up to 11 pounds, and you got 35 more horsepower. But anyway, found it on Craigslist, and reached out to the guy. I've actually got quite a few. Buying my Suburban was also pretty interesting. But the Probe, my brother who lives I'm in Iowa. My brother lives in Rockland, California. He went out and graciously met the guy, looking at it. I'm on the phone, and the guy's put him on. So my brother's just looking over. Generally, man, I care about body and interiors, most important. And mileage is secondary, but it was just I wanted him to verify that it was a clean, honest car, in the condition that it was stated. So he did that. But then the guy's put him on video chat.
FaceTime?
Yeah, FaceTime. My brother's okay, that's weird, but okay. And he looks at me. We kind of make virtual eye contact. He's like, okay, you have some gray hair. I'll sell it to you. And so he just didn't want to sell it to a kid. He's all these kids came and wanted to. They're just gonna.
Yeah.
That
is kind of rare that a seller is not just trying to get top dollar.
What was so weird is he was asking such a reasonable price. I could see that if you're weeding out the crowd by saying, okay, it's $6,000, but it was under $2,000. It's the best car ever for that price point. So anyway, more about that in the future. Today's podcast is brought to you again by Kenda Tire. We're stoked on those tires. Built, they're in the background on the Terribles, but since 1962, designing tires for individuals' journeys. And so anywhere from street tires to we're more familiar with their off-road kind of SUV light truck tire line. But great team, great people, investing a lot of infrastructure and dollars into great technology tires. And I've heard people say they're great tires for the money. I don't agree with that. I think they're just great tires. So they're my go-to choice. Really my favorite tire on the market right now for that kind of in between a mud terrain and all terrain. So check them out. Go Google the Cleaver RT, and I think you'll be stoked. And check them out, man. Pretty sweet. Okay, so this is a continuation episode. So last week, or whenever it airs, we talked about buying a vintage 4x4. How do you go about purchasing and not getting ripped off, or just having a regretful purchase? So I'm gonna just take one step before that, and then Luke will take over on some things. But one thing that's so important is, we talked about this a little bit last time, but I just want to restate it because it's so important. Because I think a lot of people, even if they buy a really good car, still are somewhat let down by the experience. because they've built it up in their mind in such a way that they have unrealistic expectations that this is going to bring them youth and prosperity and happiness and joy.
Totally
and
change my life.
Yeah, all my life problems will go away. Because there's something about men, and women do it differently. Like my wife, she just kind of, not obsesses, but she's very interested in like hospitality and just our home and creating a place that people like to be and preparing great food. And so she'll just like look at like home decorations, like cool architectural design, furniture design. So it's not different, but like guys, we can just really get fixated on stuff, on gear. I think there's actually studies that show that men are more stuff oriented than women. Women are more like people oriented.
Yeah.
Men are more stuff and things oriented. So there's something about that, man. And you've done it, right?
Been stuff oriented?
No, yeah. You just get like a certain car, like you just go like, dude, that'd be so sweet to get one of those.
Oh yeah.
And you just like do research and like just. And if you wait long enough, oftentimes the urge goes away, like or wisdom wins, and you just go like, okay, I'll wait.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
but
so I've just seen it like and myself. I don't know. I'm pretty reasonable about it. Like they're just cars. Like I have too many of them, then they're like, this stupid thing. I got to fix all this stuff on it.
Yeah, it's just hobbies come and go.
Yeah,
but
and it's no different. It's like if it's not cars, it's fly fishing stuff or climbing gear or work. Some dudes love working on their houses. I do not. Do you love doing house projects?
Yeah, kind of.
You do? I hate it.
I like just improving things.
Yeah, I love
general.
that. But for some reason, and Heather, bless her, man, she puts up with me. Like our first house that we bought in California together, I remodeled the whole house, inside, outside, about 150 grand into it, and it was exhausting, and I think I just burned myself out.
Yeah.
So now, like regular maintenance projects just drive me nuts.
Yeah. Stupid AC
Yeah.
dishwasher.
Just whatever. Yeah, that's the thing about houses, man. Everything breaks.
Everything breaks. That's
Cars are
that's
not
the
much
trouble
different.
with stuff.
It's stuff. It's that. It's right.
It's great, but it always breaks.
So, issue number one is manage your own expectations. Like, don't put too high of expectations on what this vehicle will bring to your life. Now, I will definitely admit, and I'm a strong advocate, that a vintage 4x4 in a unique way can be a tool, man, that brings families together, opens up gateways of adventure. Like, it's awesome. So I'm not downplaying that. But it's like in a specific way, manage your expectations.
It's not going to make you less of a jerk.
That's right. Or just like all my problems will go away. Like, because guess what? When you get that car, and I know this from experience, you're just on to the next thing. Like now I'm interested in like a motorcycle.
Check that box and then it's...
Yeah. And some dudes like move, a lot of cars change hands a lot because I think that's in the nature of a guy. It's like they just get interested in it. They kind of get it and they go, okay. Even the hunt is a big part of the process for a lot of guys. So anyway, manage your expectation. Luke, take us through kind of some of the categories that we talked about and just we'll summarize them.
Okay, so this was category 1 and the breakdown of the different styles of that.
Yeah.
So the first one is like the barn find, the patina, just driving down the side of the road and
the mythical barn find.
The mythical barn find. Been parked since 62, got 1,000 miles on it.
Overrated.
Yeah.
And like unless it's like some rare Shelby GT 350, like or the Ferrari that was buried in that pool.
But for something you're trying to fix up and use, there's potentially a lot of issues with that.
Yeah.
But they're sweet.
They're
nonetheless.
sweet.
It's
Yeah.
always fun. Again, I think that's part of the hunt is you're like, ooh, I
Indiana
discovered
Jones,
this thing.
dude.
I didn't just like Google it.
Wayne Cabrini, dude. That guy's just hunting down the sweetest cars.
I have no idea who that is.
He's just he's a car guy.
Car hunter.
Has a car show.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay.
Okay. So
the
the
barn
next,
find we're giving can be cool. Super. The hunt is cool. The find is amazing. The actual owning it and making it drive, not a good idea.
there's more work than people think.
And it's more of like maybe like a
It's
museum.
not just like, I get to slap a battery in it. Sometimes that's true, but rarely.
Rare.
And then what's...
Ran when parked.
Ran when parked.
So annoying.
Exactly, yeah. And then there's just the general project build. Like some
Okay.
dude who maybe found that kind of thing or whatever, working on it, had a baby, now I got this basket case of stuff. Here, take over my troubles.
Yeah.
Which again, certain person, time and place for everything could be
Those
good.
can actually be a tremendous value. Someone that's abandoning a project can be probably arguably some of the best value out there.
That's
if
true.
you're interested in building
so like you said in last episode, if you haven't done the research, if you don't know what you're looking at, like
That's
are
right.
all the parts there? Do I have to track
can be a
down
nightmare.
20% of this vehicle?
Yeah.
So
like interesting story on that. Like so I have a 1990 E30, so 325i, really sweet white 5-speed. So
red interior.
Cardinal red interior. It's a really sweet car. I can't wait to get it going. So I decided to keep it M20 powered, so BMW powered. Not going to swap it. And I just wanted to cam it, kind of see what.
Were you ever debating like a LS or?
Yeah, because the motor
crazy?
was needed a head gasket. So I'm like, if I'm going to pull the motor, but we swapped so many things, and like this Shenandoah has a 350. Like, I just wanted to see like how much could I maximize the potential of a stock thing. But the cylinder head I bought, I found the cylinder head on Facebook, or Tyler found it for me. And it was a dude, same thing. Like, he had a project vehicle, a project build that he abandoned. He sold the car but kept the cylinder head. So 8 years later, he dug it out of his garage. And it was still in the plastic bag. It's this stage 3, like really cool cylinder head with a cam and everything. Like a $3,000 cylinder head.
So what's the
8
theory
years.
behind that?
I don't know.
Like, I know I've done it. I know you've done it. I'm finding ball joints from like old Volkswagens. It's like, what are you going to do with this? I don't know if there's a mentality of I'll have another one and this is going to be sweet, or if it's just
like, that must
they
have
didn't
been
pay
it.
for it. I'll figure it out.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, because sometimes like selling expensive parts in a batch or in a bundle of a long lost project, you're not going to get your money out of it. So he definitely probably did better selling it. But it was eight to 9 years later. He's like, I still have the receipt. I'm like, dude, this is 10 years ago. And so I actually called the company, and they're like, yeah, we have that record. We built that a long time.
Verified it?
Yeah, I
So it's not
verified it
just-
because it was expensive.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
that's good.
projects to build.
Okay, so some of the other ones, what were they? Kind of I don't know, what do you call it?
For lack of a better, like we talked about the original
Beauty.
So it's not a barn find, but it's a low mileage, that sub 50,000 mile Survivor.
It hasn't been parked for 40 years necessarily.
Would that be called a Survivor?
Yeah.
I think so.
I would say Survivor. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Survivor, which is good. It's right in between the barn find and kind of the next group, which is the original daily.
Yeah.
Something that gets used, not necessarily abused, but it needs some work.
Our favorite category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an original truck, hasn't been really messed with, but it's getting out, stretching its legs.
Yeah.
Often.
Maybe a tiny bit of rust on it. Maybe it's just been driven, but it's all there.
Right.
And it's got some legacy to it, some story to it.
And those are the people that like your probe, I think, would be in that category.
Total, an original driver.
Yeah.
Same with the new Trooper.
Because those are people who are driving it, kind of have a connection.
Yeah. Keeping up on
they've
maintenance.
enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and want to pass it on to the next
I
generation.
mean, the probe was at the end of that for this guy. Like, you could tell he stopped caring about it because it had some deferred maintenance as far as like struts and spring suspension bushings, where he was probably like, I've been keeping this thing alive. I love it, but it's just time to pass it on.
So that kind of encompasses the first category of buying a vehicle or truck.
Yep.
And you're going to put some work into it.
One other category that's kind of is like the rig machine.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just been passed. It's passed like 15 different owners. Who knows what's been done to it? It's really rigged. We see those trucks a lot coming through here. Not built, like it wasn't like a flip truck. It was just like my Mazda MX-6 GT. The Mazda MX-6 GT was like that. Like, passed through a couple people that shouldn't have had it, and they'd like
just sort of doing the bare minimum to keep
did
it
a
running.
clutch by themselves, but put like the cheap clutch and like didn't put like missing some bolts and like didn't bother to put the hook up the
Replacing
vacuum
the muffler
lines.
with like a buddy's Toyota
Yeah,
muffler type
exactly.
of thing.
Those
Like,
kind of cars.
fits mostly.
Those are terrible.
Yeah.
I hate those cars.
Yeah. Stay away from those. They can
Yeah.
be, if it's like $100, they can be fun.
That's right.
But just recognize
Yeah.
you don't want to restore that. You don't want to put in the time and money to restore that thing.
Okay, so that brings us to where we left off. Category 2, which is buying a custom build or a restored truck.
So this is more in the category of somebody who's wanting an end product.
That's
not
right.
necessarily wanting to put in the time and
Yeah,
the money
because like most
to get
builders, like us included, it's gonna. I mean, I think I've heard like some companies will do it in 4 months, but I don't think that that's really true. Most builders are gonna have your vehicle between 8 months and 2 years, some longer.
there. For full restoration build, you're talking.
Yeah, we're talking about a full build.
Yeah.
That's like a turnkey truck with some modern performance in it. Just it's like been gone through. Could be like just a full out nut and bolt restoration. Those are kind of more rare. Almost in the vintage 4x4 world, that's not as much of a thing as muscle cars. We're actually going to do another episode that we'll discuss the differences between a vintage 4x4 and a muscle car or a classic car, because they're the same year, same eras, but they're really
Different mentality, different use around them, I
Yeah.
would say.
So we'll get into that at a different time. So the custom build or full resto, this in my opinion is the most risk, but also the most reward, because you can score a good vehicle and you don't have to wait for it, and you can. Sometimes you'll pay a lot, sometimes you'll pay a little. Okay, so what do you think, what to avoid in buying a truck like that? What would you say avoid?
Man, it's just tough. I mean, it depends on the vehicle. So obviously, our expertise is more around Scouts, vintage 4x4s, that kind of thing.
Right.
So for me, on a Scout, anytime it's been repainted, it's immediately a
Suspect.
red flag.
Yeah.
So it's in this category, that's going to be 90% of them.
The good point, I don't disagree with you. But the good thing about a paint job is what you see is often what's like will reflect the preparation and the cost. Because a paint job is expensive. So if a truck is already painted, it could be a really good thing.
So an easy thing for me is just like seals around windows.
Yes.
Because it's
Totally.
so difficult to tape all that stuff off. And so if you see some paint on seals,
That means
you know
it's
they didn't
cheap,
tape it off.
right.
They didn't replace it. It was cheap. And so you're starting to go, oh, what
That's
else did they
exactly
do?
why we're talking about this, because that's a little trick, a little tip. If you're buying a truck that has been restored or built, look for that. If you see paint on the door felts or like they just taped everything off, a big red flag to me.
Yeah.
On that it's been cheaply done.
And it's so easy to get, when you're going looking at a truck, it's so easy to get excited and like
Right.
just looking at the macro stuff, but slowing down, looking at those little things.
And because this is such a great point. While we're on this topic, I would look at like the edges and horizontal surfaces of like where there could be Bondo, because oftentimes you can sand the Bondo smooth on the face,
Right, but down at the rocker.
Yeah, at the rocker where it
lower
wraps
quarter.
around or into the wheel wells, you'll see like unsanded Bondo.
Yeah.
Huge red flag.
Because majority of people don't see it, so they don't care. They're just trying to whip it out quick.
That's right.
So
Which brings me
that's
to
good.
my biggest avoid. So I like that is avoid something that appears to be built to sell. Does that make sense?
Shiny. What do you mean? Break it down.
It just means like they obviously built it to sell it. So it's a flip. They didn't build it because like I lovingly paid to have this thing restored and I just lost interest.
So this is maybe you're looking more at the builder and their history.
Yeah, like they're not even a legit. No one's ever heard of them before. It's just like a car dealership that's selling these restored trucks. Now, this is another point. So another red flag for me is why that's a red flag is because oftentimes like the dealer, the independent like classic car dealer, they didn't build it, but a builder built it and is selling it through them.
Kind of consigning,
But it gives them a layer of protection and anonymity and protection. And therefore, who's going to fix issues that are bad, who are you going to go back to? The dealership's going to go, we didn't build it, we just sold it.
Right.
So I would avoid, especially like online, like eBay or different. There's a lot of little independent dealers, and they also sell through eBay.
There's a lot on eBay where you see them in like the same checkered studio
Yes.
or whatever. And when they have 4 or 5 of them, you know they're just whipping them out, and it's suspect, man.
Suspect. And it's so, dude, we're going to do a video because I want to show you guys pictures from an ad. So we received a truck here recently that we have pictures of the ad. So the customer sent us like, here's all the ad. It's amazing. $40,000 worth of parts, no expense spared. $50,000 we're selling this amazing $100,000 Scout. And the pictures, even to you and I, look like, wow, that looks pretty good. And dude, we get it in person, and it is awful. It's a beat to the street, just rig job truck. That stinks for the customer. That's like, it's terrible to do to people.
And with those pictures, so if there's limited pictures or there's like kind of problem areas that they don't show, strategic pictures
Yeah.
are a huge thing.
Right.
So kind of be on the lookout for how come they're not showing me this or that.
We'll get to that. So we'll get to like what are some key steps to protecting yourself. Okay, so let's say generally we're gonna avoid flips, like trucks that are obviously flips, and those tend to be in like the 35 in Scouts, and I think Broncos would hold true, and FJs, maybe Blazers, early Broncos, not this like OJs and the it's like 79, 77, and I like those. They're coming into their own, but generally like they're from like 35 to 60 grand. I would generally be weary of those vehicles.
That price range of builds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if they've had like engine swaps, and I think what I've seen is consistently if they start to get over 70, there's typically a reason for that price, and they've had a lot of mechanical restoration and correctly done work. Or like you said, original paint. If it's original paint and you can verify that that it's original, that's a great truck to buy. Even if you overpay for it, you're still in really good shape.
And that's where like knowing the difference in that stuff comes from research, because there's a lot of certain spots on Scouts where sheet metal overlaps, and so there should be a little seam, a little variation there. But
Yep.
if it's smooth, that's Bondo. Like there was rust, they Bondoed over it.
Always a red flag.
Little tricks
Yeah.
like that.
Little just behind the curtain. Like when we look at trucks, we get a lot of customers, like just not customers, but people that email us and say, hey, are you interested in my truck? Or what do you think about this truck? And like I said, on Scouts, Broncos, same. If there are filled where 2 panels join or there's a seam and it's smooth, like where the corner cap meets the quarter panel, or the rocker panel meets the quarter panel, if those are smooth, red flag.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes they'll say like, oh man, it was hand TIG welded, 100%. All those seams were TIG welded, and then no Bondo. Like no, they just slap Bondo in there.
And that's not to say that it might not be that way, but you're putting a lot of risk in it unless you can go and look at it and feel it and actually inspect it.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Stay away.
Okay, no, I agree. Okay, so we've ruled out those kind of trucks, or they're code orange. Be really weary of those flip kind of online dealer trucks. So now, let's say you found a shop that is a legitimate car builder shop. What are some things we want to look for in that?
With the shop?
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at their body of work is a
that's
pretty
huge.
easy telltale sign. And if
Yep.
they don't really have anything they can show you or don't want to show you stuff,
Or it's just all over the map. Like,
Yeah.
they did a Fox body Mustang, then a vintage, 1940.
right? Definitely
Packer.
finding somebody who knows the vehicle
Yeah.
is beneficial.
But yeah, I would put that in the category of reputation first. Like, do they have a good reputation? Number 2, and this one's tough because some people don't want to be bothered. Like, they don't want to bother their clients and customers with this. But can you provide some references?
With previous customers.
Yeah, previous customers.
Yep, for sure.
That's pretty huge.
Yeah.
What else?
And that's reputation reference. That's not like looking them up on Yelp. I don't
No,
think
I don't trust that at all.
Do justice.
We could do an episode about that. That's annoying.
Yeah. So if you're buying a truck from a shop, finished, you're saying.
Yeah, finished.
So do they have any kind of documentation on it?
Yeah, that's huge.
Sort of what it, because if you can see a picture of what it started as
Yep.
and where it's come from,
And like the
you
kind of
can
metal
get-
work they
get a
did, all that
level
kind of
of
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, what to be looking for.
So yeah, process pictures, documentation, and good shops will have that. So
Yeah.
another key thing is how will they stand behind their work? Do they offer any kind of warranty? And if so, what are the conditions of that warranty?
Yeah.
For example, at our shop, we offer on our anything Scout, just LS swap trucks. We do a 6-month warranty, and essentially, it's very simple. 6 months, unlimited miles, and like we've carried it up to a year because we want to take care of people, and that's so important. So let's say your fuel pump goes out, which is not really our fault. But like we just use good Walbro fuel pumps, but stuff happens. Stuff always happens in this game. So don't be surprised. Don't be agitated. Think of like, just really quick to put it in perspective. This is a defense for honest builders out there that are doing their best. Have you ever heard of a thing called a factory recall?
Yeah.
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 So Ford, Chevy, Toyota, you name it, Mercedes, they put millions and millions of dollars into R&D, and they build hundreds of thousands of the same kind of car, and they still have issues that you bring it back to the dealer for warranty work. And so a shop that's building 6 or 7 to 10 trucks a year, of course there's going to be little issues on small scale production. Like, do we try to mitigate those? Yes. But there's always going to be stuff that happens. So that's part of the game.
And that's where a shop that works on Scouts or works on Broncos and isn't all
That's
over.
right.
They're starting to refine that and figure out those issues and address them before they happen.
That's great input. Like, that is true. Like, for us on the Anything Scout side, we do 12 to 20 LS swaps a year, and we have done that for the last few years. And so versus the shop that has never done an engine swap, let alone in a Scout, like they're doing it for their first time. Now, using our kit and parts can help. But yeah, we've refined so many things just by doing them over and over and going, what is the common failure? So for us, like, just to be transparent, one of the things that we had a problem with was AC compressors. We were sourcing just brand new AC compressors, and we had like 3 or 4 failures in a 6-month period of time. So we said that was terrible. And just to get back real quick to the warranty, so customers take it to a shop, first contact us, tell us what's going on. If you want, we'll help you find a shop. Once we agree on that shop's bid and assessment, that yes, it's the fuel pump, yes, that should, and we line item everything. Everything's billed out. So like our fuel system is 6 hours and X amount of dollars in parts. The warranty cannot exceed that value. Because I had a guy once, a fuel pump went out in his Scout. He took it to the shop in an upscale neighborhood, and they literally wanted to charge him $1,600 to install. Like I shipped him a fuel pump
Just
to take a gas
take a couple
tank
bolts out, take a gas
which
tank.
is 3 hours maximum. So I'm like, nope, I reject that warranty. So I did some research, found another shop in the area that was cool. He took it there. They did it for like $300 or $400. Everyone was happy. I paid the bill. Customer was back on the road. So stuff's going to happen. Stand behind their product. And with those AC compressors. So what we did was we went to like AC Delco, the highest quality AC compressors we could possibly get, which cost us more money. But in the long run, we have no more failures in the AC system. So it's little things like that you want to look. Yeah. Okay. So what else? What else can they do if they find a shop that they feel good about? They found a vehicle that is looking good. What's another thing that they can do to provide a hedge of protection?
A hedge of protection. I don't know. What do you got?
Well, I think a third-party assessment.
Okay.
I've done this quite a few times. When it's like up in Maine, there's a vehicle, you find it on Craigslist or a dealer. A builder's no different, but there are people that do vehicle inspections, And I think like a resource such as like Haggerty Insurance, like they probably have a network of people that will go assess like how thick is the paint, is there Bondo, is there rust, like, and they'll get you those close-up pictures that you were talking about, like up underneath in the engine bay, like just the pictures that they don't, the non-beauty shot pictures.
And that's even a simpler version of that. We've had a lot of people send us pictures and emails and say, hey, what do you guys think? You know, on Craigslist, say, what do you guys think of this? And I'm more than happy to say, no, that's junk, stay away. Or like, dude, that's a good buy. Sweet. Snatch it or shoot me that guy's number.
We got an email. Yeah, exactly. We got an email from this lady. It's like, oh, I want to get a Scout. I found this one. What do you guys think about it? And dude, it was
whipped.
It was like a wood hauling truck, and it was clapped out. Like this thing was one of them. It's like more beat than the Terrible. Yeah. Like how they started. And so, that's a great point.
So she may not have seen the same. She's looking at it and just has this vision of on the beach and this sweet truck. But
so if you're looking at a builder, particularly, I mean, again, I can go through a list of names of shops that I think are super good quality shops, and you're going to pay for it. They're not cheap. But especially if it's like an independent, just kind of random restoration shop, and they have a Scout for sale or a Jeep for sale or whatever. Yeah, find a Jeep company, find a Scout specialty company, even if they're just a parts company. Say, hey, can I send you some? And they're going to be happy to do it because they hope to gain your parts business. And so, again, we do that all the time. That was a great point. Okay, so I think that kind of covers it. You can call a company like Haggerty, though. They're great people. Not a sponsor, but great people. But they will often tell you, like, or you can look up, I don't know how valuable like NADA values are on classic cars, but you can call Haggerty and say, hey, they have very finite numbers on this is how much we're insuring, 78 Jeep Wagoneers for. You should not pay more than, and you can say, oh, but it's got an LS swap. Okay, we'll add 10, 15, 20K to that. So anyway, there are good resources, and if you need help buying a Scout, especially, you can reach out to New Legend or anything Scout, and we'd be happy to help you. Okay. The last category, and we're doing fine.
Make it quick.
No, we're doing fine. So that's buying a completed project. Now, how about, and this could be another episode, but let's just scratch the surface because I think we should do an episode on this.
Okay.
Building from scratch. So you have a vision of what you want. That's all you have. Maybe you have a little Pinterest like mood board of like your dream vehicles. So now, how do you go about finding a shop? Who's going to execute your vision?
Well, so first off, I think managing your expectations on this again. This is most likely going to be the most expensive, unless in category 2, what we just talked about, you do get rooked on that. Then that's going to be probably the same price. But
like just for example, I mean, there's an Icon Bronco that sold on Bring a Trailer recently. I think it sold for $290K. Like that's a lot of money. Icon builds beautiful trucks. Love their company, but that would be that category 2 finished build from a very reputable shop that you actually paid a premium because you didn't have to wait 2 years.
Jump in the line.
Yes,
that's true.
So not always a bad thing, but you're right. You can pay more, but you're right. Building from scratch is often going to be the most expensive, longest.
But you get what you want. I mean,
what you want.
You get what you want, and it's dialed in. You know it's good.
So let's just talk, because again, we'll do a whole episode. But let's just talk. What are the benefits aside from getting what you want, or can we explore that a little more deeply? What are the benefits to building from scratch?
Well, it depends who you are, but to me, part of the process I think is fun when you get to sort of go through the build process with them.
I agree.
Again, managing expectations. This isn't going to be 2 months,
right? So
knowing that this is a long-term thing, having a little bit of patience in that regard will make the whole thing more enjoyable for you.
Yeah, and one thing that again for transparency that we've struggled with in any shop, any honest shop has struggled with this is we have an internal expectation. This should take 12 months. And, something happens with a job that's 6 ahead of yours that it just snowballs and cascades. It's just that domino effect.
Yeah.
And now it's 14 months or 16 months. And in my opinion, I know it's hard to wait. Like my first Scout that I built, I had a budget of 40,000. This is back in 1999, I think. So a long time ago. 98, 99. I had a budget of $40,000. And I already had a Scout. I bought my Scout for $1,000. So $40K in parts that I had to manage that budget. And I did all the work except for one thing, the paint job. So I had a friend.
So this was a truck you were restoring for yourself,
yeah,
essentially.
Like my wife and I were talking. She had I can't remember. She was driving a Suburban or something like that. So we were starting to have kids. I think we had a 91 FJ80 Land Cruiser or a Wagoneer. We also had a Grand Wagoneer, like a 1986 Grand Wagoneer. So we had some cool whips. But it was time for so she was driving one of those, and I'm like, I want to get a truck. We were both working, making decent money. But I said, I don't want I want to get an older, cool truck. So then I fell in love with Scouts at that point. So I said, sweetie, she's great. She hates when I call her sweetie like that. Feels as condescending, but I don't. It's just a term of endearment because I love her. She's great. She's always been amazing. And I'd actually like to do an episode with her about, because so often, man, we get customers that are like two things. I know I'm on a rabbit trail.
We're getting really off the... All right, keep going.
Either A, they hide the money they spend on their truck from their wife, or B, the wife is the gatekeeper to the money. And it's like, so I gotta clear this with my wife. And it's like, something's not right about that. So anyway, every couple's different and unique, but my wife has been really amazing about supporting the hobby of cars. Like it's our life.
So there's obviously a trust there.
I guess, and I've not always been trustworthy with it because I've bought some beaters and bad, stupid cars, But yeah, it's like she's like, you work hard, you provide for our family. Like, who am I? I'm not your mom. Like, you can make that decision. And obviously, I talked to her about it, but I've always appreciated that about her. Like if I go and it's just human nature. And then we're way off on a rabbit trail, but hey, can I go climbing tonight? She's like, I'm not your mom. Of course, you don't have to ask my permission to go climbing. And what I mean by that is is our schedule clear? Is it cool? I'm maybe not thinking through all the immediate needs that are going on right now. But anyway, so I built this truck, $40K, but I paid for I had to pay to paint it because I had no experience with paint. So I did some of the metal work, cleaned up some things. And this guy was a friend of mine. I actually worked at this body shop as a teenage, early 20s. And he's like, 6 months, no problem. 6 months, $6,000. So I'm like, okay, sweet. And it was 18 to 20 months later and $9,000. And was I flipping out? Yeah, I was getting impatient, I have to admit, because I was like, I got to get this truck done. It's been 18 months. But was it fine in the long run? Yeah, it didn't ruin my life. And so again, it's back down to those expectations. This is supposed to be a fun process. I know you're investing a lot of hard-earned money, but just be patient. And that's not to say that some shops don't take advantage of customers. I've heard that a lot, where they go out of business or something and they're just hosed. So to anyone that we've ever built a truck for and took longer than we were supposed to, my condolences and apologies.
Trying our best.
Yeah. So anyway, and that's what you want from a shop. It's just they're doing their best. They're building, trying their best. It's not an easy business. But doing their best to build a great product and take care of people. So what else? What are some of the benefits of you get what you want? You have fun because it is fun to let's pick interior. What kind of leather do you want? What kind of wax canvas do you want? Where do you want the radio? What kind of radio do you want? There's so many decisions that is fun. What else?
Doing a frame off ground up restoration, you get to assuming you find a decent shop, you get to really ensure quality.
Yes.
There's no questions as to, is this seam
That's right.
sealed, undercoated the right places?
That's right.
Is this and that done? The things you can't see once it's together.
Yeah. And I think when it's finished, you have this pride of investment. You've been a part of the process. Mm-hmm. And one thing we haven't talked about is building your own. So you bought that project vehicle and take the 3 to 5 years to build it yourself in your own garage, which I have a ton of respect for, but it's very different. It takes a unique kind of person that's hard to see that through.
But you're right. There is a connection to it, and it's this piece that you.
Yeah, and super cool. A lot of guys their kids are involved, like they're showing kids the progress pictures that when they come visit, they bring their kids. And it just is cementing that story and that legacy of that particular truck into the narrative of their family and into the narrative of the relationship with their dad or their mom. Okay, well, I think that's a good summary. I feel good about, but let's do an episode on building a truck, because that's a whole nother ball game. And we can just walk people through our process and how we do it. And I think that's probably the easiest way. Maybe we can get like Jason Webb or something and have one of our customers that has gone through it to interact from the customer perspective.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And okay, so anyway, owning a vintage vehicle, especially a vintage 4x4, is awesome. It's really rewarding and can be a great thing to bring your family and friends together and give yourself just an outlet for some great adventure and things to do. But just be smart, be careful, but definitely be free to go for it, because it's awesome. Yeah. So join us next time on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, however you listen to your podcast or watch your podcast. And we're in the beautiful Terribles garage. As you can see, we have an episode about Terribles, so you can check those out. And again, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.